crawled through the door, and God bless them, they were there for me. They helped me. They put me on Librium the first 3 days because I am a heart patient, and they didn't want the shock to cause a massive coronary. They kept me 5 extra days so that I could be pretty sure. And I went back across this street, and that time Mike and Reverend Pat decided get me out of the kitchen and put me down in the clothing room where I could give out all the beautiful clothes that the people of Portland donate to those of us that need them. And the boys made a big sign and put it up above the door, Ma's Boutique. I'm known as Ma in Portland. In fact, my little necklace, the United Way, the loaned executives of United Way gave me my little necklace as #1 mom, and it's from the loaned executives in 1986. How I treasure this. I could never have children of my own, but God, I got thousands of them. When I get to St. Paul, there's a couple of kids there that used to be at Maloney Joe's, and they just had a baby girl. She called me from her hospital bed, collect yet, to tell me I was a grandma. And I get to see her when we go from here tomorrow to St. Paul. I get to see the kids and both their kids, Stevie and Michelle. The rewards. Oh my God. I used to say I was such a happy alcoholic. And someone would say, well, what is your definition of happiness? And my definition is, it's the byproduct of the right kind of living. I don't have to. I gave up all that puking and that stealing and that lying, that cheating, that conning. I had to give it all up to stay sober. Thank God. Because I was a real pro at it. I could sell lace pants to commandos if I needed a drink. Believe me. I haven't had to go back out there now. It'll be 4 years, December 5th. I am on the board of the Burnside Community Council, which is our board in Portland. I'm on the board of the State Shelter Network. I'm on the board of the National Coalition for the Homeless. I got our Governor's Award this year for volunteerism. I got the Mayor's Award, which is the Spirit of Portland Award for volunteering. I got a beautiful plaque from the state of Arkansas with a 8x10 autograph picture of Bill Clinton, their governor, and a gorgeous letter. Who'd ever think these things would happen to this old drunk? And it's because of people like you. You people that care and share. You people that care about the less fortunate. That can take the time to give us a hand up rather than a hand out. I'm not the only one that has come off the streets. I've got my little one-bedroom trailer now and a big fat Siamese cat named Miss Elizabeth. Any of you wrestling fans know why I named her that. But she's gorgeous, and I love it. She'll sit on my lap, and I just tell her all my garbage, and she loves me anyway. But the best part of it is she doesn't go repeat it. She wags her tail instead of her tongue, and I love her for it. I think that's why dog's man's best friend, because he wags his tail instead of his tongue. But all of these extra bonuses, I go all over the United States now and tell my story so that young people, God, I hope they'll listen to me. If you're drinking beer or smoking wacky tobacco, for God's sake, cut it out. Now. There's an invisible line there. You never know when you're going to cross it. And you're going to slap your mother to get whatever it is you need to support that habit. And believe me, you don't go uphill, you go down. Pretty soon you go so far down, the only way to go is up. But hey, down is for a long time. And it's hell down there. Oh my God, it's hell. You lose your self-respect, you lose it all. And you begin to believe how no good you are. Then you're in a world of trouble, like I was. I had resigned myself to the fact I was going to die out there. But I don't have to. You people now are part of my life and part of my sobriety. I didn't dare drink a drink today because I knew I had to be here and speak to you folks. And I didn't want liquor on my breath. So you're part of my life. Because of you tonight, I'm sober. And I love you for it. But I do hope if any of you are messing, wait till you're old enough. Make your decision if you're going to drink. My God, don't. Get that education and use it. Get it and use it. Don't do like I did. Lose the whole damn thing. Life's too short. Oh my God, life's short. Doesn't seem possible I'll be 67 in November. That I will. But oh my God, look at the years I've got to go out and speak to people. And I've got a heart like a hotel now. There's room for everybody. I love people. I meet I get some of the most beautiful letters when I get back to Portland. I go home again Sunday. And I know all of you people can get involved with the less fortunate. Each and every one of you can get involved. And don't think because you're one person you can't do anything. One person can do so much and make such a difference. Go down to your shelter. Help prepare a meal and serve it. Meet some of us. Hey, we're a bunch of pussycats. We fight among ourselves, but we don't fight you. And we hold no animosity whatsoever because you are dressed nice, you have a job, you have a home, hey, God bless you. Someday if things go right and we get this housing and we get this money, we're all going to have it. But we can't do it alone. We need you to give us that hand up. So please think about it. And I don't give a damn if you ever like each other. Who cares? But for God's sake, love each other. There's such a difference. And I know every one of you in this room knows that God loves you. And I want you to know I love you. And thank you very much for having me up here to talk to you and be in your beautiful state. And may God bless you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now Mike and I are going to have a question and answer period. If you folks have any questions at all, would you please ask us and we'll try to answer them.
I think Beverly should have gave the war on drugs message that Mr. Bush gave 2 nights ago. It had been much more effective reaching today's young people. So,
if I knew anything about them, I would.
But I think she's a Democrat and not a Republican.
Yes, I am a Democrat. Bet I'm a Democrat. That's another good thing. They allow street people to vote now. Bet I'm a Democrat.
Any questions of Beverly? Yes, sir. Way in the back. Why did your mother give you away, Beverly?
You know as much as I do. But my brother called me in 1980, August of 1980, and told me our mother was dying in Reno. And I went to Reno. And I had her hand when she died. I forgave her. She knew it was me. She was in the semi-coma. And I said, if you know who it is, squeeze my hand. And she did. And my brother and I have 3 half-sisters that were born after she gave me away. They were all downtown. And my sister-in-law and I were with her when she died. And then we went to services. And I've never had such a weird feeling in my life. But when they closed that casket, it was like somebody took a railroad tie off my shoulders and put it in there with her. All my bitterness and hatred went in that casket with her, and I started learning to love people. My reason to hate was gone, and I started shaping up a little bit and loving people.
Way in the back, yes.
When people ask you to predict their dying, and you want to help, and you know that they're going to die before the year, what are you going to say to that?
She wants to know about me bumming nickels and dimes. What would I say to people? I used to tell them my grandmother died in Medford, Oregon, and I was short $1.11 for my ticket to get down there. Or the next one I'd hit, I'd say I was short $2.08. Maybe the next one I'd say 87 cents. Till I'd get enough to get a 2-ear jug, then I wouldn't have to panhandle for a couple of days. My grandmother died in Eureka, California in 1950. But I had a lot of good stories, and tears big as horse pucky. Oh, I could jerk them tears to get a jug. And it wasn't, especially a woman could panhandle a lot easier than a man. But I was lying in my teeth. Some of them knew it, they'd just say, go away. But I did pretty good. I go right uptown and hit the best of them.
But what should we do? Should we give that nickel or dime or should we?
I didn't hear.
Should people give to panhandlers?
Oh, should you give to panhandlers? Absolutely not. No, ma'am. Because we are lying, and you can guarantee we're working on the next jug and we're just going to be sicker the next day. So you are not helping us by giving us money. If we tell you we're hungry, go in a restaurant and pay the waitress for a sandwich. 9 chances out of 10 we won't go in and eat the sandwich because we just told you a lie to get a jug. No, I would not advise giving money to people at Panhandle. That sounds funny coming from me, but I'm here to say the truth. They'll just be sicker the next day if you do.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever write a book or consider writing a book?
Go ahead.
I've been asked that question so many times. No, sir, absolutely not. A lot of it is a total blank. Like I say with my drinking, there's spaces in my life where months on end I can't tell you where I was or what I did. And another thing, I was involved with the syndicate, and let's don't dig up dead dogs. It may not pay off.
However, we are negotiating. I'm like Beverly's volunteer press agent, and I'm meeting with the University of Minnesota Press in St. Paul, or in Minneapolis on Friday, and we want someone to do a biography of Beverly Ma Curtis, and it should be as historical as that historic book on Boxcar Bertha, a woman hobo during the Great Depression. So there will be a book someday. And Jonathan Kolzel, who wrote the book Rachel and Her Children, dedicated his book about homeless families to Beverly, myself, and one other person, and he did some preliminary writing about Beverly's life story, but Jonathan is pretty busy and he doesn't have time to write a book. So if there's any freelance journalist that wants to write a book, I can probably get you a paid job from the University of Minnesota Press. They're going to begin working the book right away. Other questions? Yes. Right. Okay.
I mean, it's like political rights movement, not like political rights movement. You gave people, new legislation, maybe go, et cetera, but the condition in the inner city is still the same.
Right.
It's the same year after year after year after year.
Okay. Okay. So the question is how can nonviolence be effective in getting rights for homeless people? September of 1989 happens to be the 25th anniversary of Lyndon Johnson's War on Poverty. That war on poverty failed because we diverted our financial resources to support the war in Vietnam. And so we lost that war, and now we're embarking on a war on drugs, which is somewhat of a hysterical move on the part of our government. Nonviolence is effective. We have tried many traditional ways, and we continue to appeal to the public through the media to shelter homeless people, to feed homeless people. But of those 3 million homeless people in America tonight, there are only 200,000 emergency bed spaces. We treat stray animals in America better than we treat stray people. So the traditional ways of lobbying and begging and asking people to help simply is not working. I saw in the Des Moines Register Tribune yesterday a good editorial cartoon making fun of Mr. Bush's 1,000 points of light. They called it the 1,000 points of height, because points of light, like the local shelter in Ames, in reality, those folks turn away more people than they actually help. There's not enough shelters around in this country, so we have to do non-traditional means. I live and work with Mitch Snyder in Washington, D.C., and we've gone to jail. We have gone on hunger fast for as long as 50 days. We've got arrested. We're going to pull together 1 million people in Washington on October 7th to do non-traditional ways, because Americans are not responding to the sense of urgency that they should. And sometimes I wish they would treat homelessness like it was an earthquake or a flood in South Iowa.
Isn't it tough to be non-violent with government that is usually violent, that don't look what they do, you know? I mean, it's, you know, you're communicating something to, you know, to the government that understands something else. That, you know, it's tough to know. It's just
Question is it tough to be nonviolent? And yes, it is. And you just have to be patient. You have to continue to do things, and you don't want to resort to violence to say you're opposed to violence. And you know, nonviolence works. It just takes a while. And I was a conscientious objector during the Vietnam War, and I've never paid war taxes in my life. I don't plan to, because I just don't believe in what the military and our government is doing. So I'm making a personal witness. I'm the pacifist, and I do my own thing, but you know, I don't expect everybody else to be like I am. Yes, sir. The question to Beverly: do you keep in contact with your past friends?
Some of them I do. A lot of my drinking friends are still at Bologna Joe's, but they quit offering me a drink now. And they're proud of me. I thought they'd turn their backs if I quit slobbering in the same jug, but they love me for what I'm doing. And they appreciate me trying to help those of them that are still out there. You bet. And my brother loves me. I'm welcoming he's home again.
So what do people need to do? I would encourage people to get involved in this local hunger group that I don't remember its name, but I know they're opposed to hunger. I would encourage you to volunteer at your local shelter. I would encourage you to come to Washington, D.C. I would encourage you to spend time on the streets, not like Beverly, but do an urban plunge and go to Des Moines and spend a couple days. I actually even teach a course called Hoboology. I have people go out in pairs, always 2 men or a man and a woman. I take away all your money and give you a bedroll, a rope, a jug of water. I give you $1 a day, and you spend 48 hours out on the streets. And you would be surprised how people treat you when they see you out on the streets as a homeless person. So I would encourage you to go outside and share the pain and agony that homeless people do. And I've been working with the homeless for many, many years. And the winter of '86, '87, Mitch and I and a couple other people spent 5 months living outside on the heat grates of Washington, D.C. We were outside all winter long with just a blanket, a sheet of plastic, and a shopping cart. And we protested, we lobbied, we spent the winter with the homeless, and we pushed through what they call the federal McKinney Homeless Assistance Bill. And if we would not have done that, that bill is providing money here in Iowa, that bill would not have got through Congress. So if we can get that emergency bill through Congress, I think we can get a major housing bill through the U.S. Congress, but only with help. If we don't get 500,000 to 1 million people in Washington in October, Congress is not going to believe that Americans want people sheltered. And so we have a real struggle on our hands, and only you can make a difference. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Of all the homeless people you work with and see, how many of those, percentage-wise, would you say are alcoholics or drug addicts? Because you said not to give these people money, but certainly not all of them can be this way.
Question is how many people are alcoholics. Maybe I could give a few stats so that people know who they are. Of the 3 million homeless, the majority of homeless people are families. For every Skid Row alcoholic, which is like the tip of the iceberg, there's another 9 people who are women, who are children, who are families. The mentally ill make up 25% of the homeless population. Alcoholics make up 15 to 20%. There are people in the streets who are dual diagnosis. They're both alcoholic and mentally ill. There's people who are triple diagnosis, alcoholic, drug addicted, mentally ill. The 2 new groups of the homeless population are crack addicts. Crack addicts are popping up among the homeless population throughout the country. And in New York City, in one men's shelter, 60% of the men in that one shelter were HIV positive, people with AIDS. And shelters always become the respites of the unwanted, the undesirables. Who's ever not wanted in our society will wind up in a shelter. The average age of homeless people has gone, in like 10 years, has gone from age 50, when I began working with the homeless in the 1970s, to about age 30, and it continues to get younger. And it really pains me when I go to a shelter or a soup line and I see children who are standing in a soup line or waiting in a waiting room to get shelter. And I often wonder if there are parallels between what happened to Jewish people in World War II and what's happening to homeless people in the 1990s. And I think there's some parallels. Homeless people are not being killed in concentration camps, but living outside, as Beverly so well states, is hazardous to your health. And I think when we're grandparents, I hope when our grandchildren ask us, did we see these people outside on the streets of America in the 1990s, and did you say or do or march or protest? And we simply got to try, and it's not right for people to have to live outside in this country.
And just a minute, Mike. Another thing, the people that are out there, if they're bumming for money, find out where help is and advise them. Don't just walk past them, but tell them where they can go to get help. If there's a shelter, if there's the Salvation Army, or whoever is working with the homeless, direct them to them where they will get proper help and where they're going to almost have to tell the truth to get the help.
I'm the lobbyist in Washington. To me, it's worth $3,000 a year not to have to wear a suit and tie, and so I'm glad I don't have to wear a suit and tie here today. But in Washington, I dress up to lobby members of Congress. I've given up on Senator Grassley here in Ohio, in Iowa, but Senator Harkin, you can't trust either the Democrats or the Republicans. You know, we got the McKinney bill through the U.S. Congress, $600 million. President Bush has honored his campaign promise, and he's going to fully fund the McKinney Act for fiscal year 1990 that begins October 1. The Democratic House of Representatives cut out $47 million from Mr. Bush's budget for the McKinney bill, and those were Democratic members of the House of Representatives. The Senate will be voting on a similar package this month when they're back in session now, and I would ask that you give up on, well, you should write to Senator Grassley, but I've given up on him. I would ask that you write to Senator Harkin, who's a very powerful U.S. Senator on the Appropriations Committee, and ask that he fully fund the McKinney bill, and if he signs on to it, it will be fully funded. If not, $47 million of that very tiny bill will be cut out, and that funding is for health and mental health services. So I would ask that you write to Senator Harkin and pray for Senator Grassley. There's some literature on the table. Kent knows all, who spoke earlier, is very knowledgeable. The October 7th march, there's over 100 national organizations, celebrities from Sylvester Stallone to Whoopi Goldberg to Cher, and even Pee Wee Herman is coming to our march in Washington, D.C. So I would ask that you all not go to the Rolling Stones concert on October 7th and come to Washington, D.C. It's a much more important thing. The Stones have been around for a long, long time, and nobody is worth, I'm not worth $100, or Beverly's not worth $125 to go see her. And so I would encourage you not to go to the Rolling Stones, which I know that sounds unpatriotic, but they've been around a long, long time. They're going to be around in many other places, so don't go to the Rolling Stones concert. And there's some literature on the table. We put out a newsletter called The Safety Network. It's free, and thank you very much for coming, and please get involved locally. Remember the slogan of the late Abby Hoffman, think globally, act locally. Thank you very much.